Muy buenas a todos, soy Focumero, esto es Focumero Gaming. Estamos un día más en Spellforce 3. Seguimos hablando con Uram sobre su vida. Y hay que continuar la misión principal. Hay que buscar los dos orbes restantes.
In a nutshell, that's it.
And I'm guessing that's what makes it so dangerous.
Among other things, yes. What can also happen is that your body simply can't handle a demon's unleashed essence. It can cause a brain rupture similar to what these masks the Purity use. And, to be honest, that happens to 8 out of 10 students of demonology. They subdue a demon, get excited, and let all their energy rush in at once. As a result, their brains explode like a watermelon hit with a warhammer.
Porque está prohibida la... Bueno, porque está prohibida es más que lógico.
So, why exactly is demonology forbidden?
Por el peligro.
Because it's dangerous. And because demonologists can be extremely powerful. More than some members of the ruling caste would like to see.
¿Hay un límite de demonios que puedes tener o
Is there a
someter?
limit to how many demons you can bind?
No. If there were, I wouldn't still be traveling after all this time.
Interesante.
Interesting. Thanks for the insight.
Sure. Huh?
So, have we gotten past that I don't trust you thing? I want to know more about you.
Well, there isn't that much to know about me, Tahar. I'm a demonologist from Kalea, and I've been on the road for a couple of years now. That's it.
Wait, you're Kalayan?
Yeah. And I know I don't have the accent, but that was a lot of training.
What made you come to Northander?
Long story, and I don't want to talk about it. Anything else, Tahar? If not, let me get back to my grimoire.
Jugar a este juego me están dando una ganas tremenda de marcarme la trilogía del Dragon Age. ¿Podrías contarme más cosas sobre Kalai?
Can you tell me more about Kalea? What's it like there?
It's a pretty general question, Corporal.
¿Cómo es la gente de allí?
What are Kalayans like, compared to Northandians?
Huh. Good question. I don't spend that much time socializing, so I don't know if I can give you the answer to that. But all in all, Kalayans are a lot less stiff than you Nort folks. Kalayans like to sing, to dance, and to fuck. They do it a lot, sometimes at the same time. They admire philosophy and magic, and being good in either of those makes you the equivalent of a famous bard here in Greyfell. On the other hand, the people are two-faced. That's a lot better here in Northander. You have your little intrigues, but you generally say what you mean, which Kalayans see as almost primitive.
Es una única ciudad muy grande, ¿verdad?
Kalea is a city-state, isn't it? Like Everlight.
Yeah. Well, almost. When people say Kalea, they usually refer to the chain of islands in the Sea of Dreams, a couple of miles from Imperia. However, only the big one in the middle is really inhabited. And that one's pretty much just a massive city called Kalea. Nobody can remember the names of the other islands, not even the Kalayans themselves. But yeah, it's essentially a city-state. And even though Kalea is small, it's very powerful. You know, spices, sugars, sea jewels, all the kind of stuff a tropical paradise has to offer.
Rich as a Kalayan, isn't that how they say?
Yeah, though that ignores the fact that there's thousands of Kalayans starving to death in the slums.
¿El olor de sangre ha llegado allí?
Do you happen to know if Kalea is affected by the Bloodburn too?
Don't think so, no. At least I haven't heard anything.
¿Y cómo son las relaciones políticas entre Northander y Kulea?
There's been a lot of tension between Northander and Kalea during the Mage War.
Kulea.
How is the situation now?
I haven't been back since, so I couldn't tell you. But according to the sailors, things have gotten better.
Bueno, volvemos y no importa.
Never mind. I'll be going.
Vamos a avanzar la misión principal de una dichosa vez. Ahora que contamos con la... Uy, qué bajón de FPS tengo, ¿no? Ahora que contamos con la ayuda de orcos, humanos y elfos. Que hay un montón de misiones secundarias que tengo que completar. Me imagino que a lo largo que vaya avanzando la campaña. Yo sigo pensando igual. Estaba planificado el juego para que fuera primero ayudar a los orcos, luego a los humanos y luego a los elfos por orden de dificultades, porque los elfos fue lo más complicado. y el nivel se va manteniendo. Así que todo el nivel que he ganado con los elfos y con los humanos se lo apliqué a Gore y reventó al otro en 2 segundos. No fue un combate muy igualado. Que habla con Iria. Vamos a acabar ya también con la conversación con ella. Que bajón de FPS tengo, ¿eh?
Interesting.
Que tiene un arco un poco feo.
Corporal, need anything?
Azul. Voy a poner este. Este es un poco peor, ¿no? Daño de fuego. Aunque hace ligeramente más daño.
Tell me a bit about your time on the road. What was it like?
Is that a command, Corporal?
Por favor.
Please?
All right, but I'm afraid there isn't so much to tell. Have you ever been on the road by yourself?
Sí.
A long time ago. Yes.
Well, then you know how wearisome it can get. Sleeping under the stars sounds romantic at first, until you realize that most of the time it's sleeping in the mud, in drizzle. Most of the time, your stomach and your purse are empty, and your feet are full of blisters. And, of course, there's the constant danger. Especially if you're traveling on your own.
¿Has tenido alguna vez algún compañero?
Did you ever have a companion?
Some, yeah, but most of it was just temporary. Though there was one I traveled with for longer. Quentin.
How did you meet?
Coincidence. A small town between Finn and Mir and Lar. We played dice together and he cheated. When I called him out on it, he tried to turn tail. But one of the other guests stopped him for me. They wanted to go give him a beating, but I told them to stop. He gave me back my money and we started talking. And, believe it or not, we found that we got along quite well.
So you started traveling together? With a thief?
I wouldn't call him that. He was just young and careless. We ended up traveling for almost a year.
¿Y cómo era vuestra relación?
I see. What was your relationship?
You mean... no, we were just friends. He was way too young for my liking, and I think I was too old for him. We were more like sister and brother.
¿Y cuál era su historia?
What was his story? Where was he headed?
Into the blue, same as me. He had quite an interesting task, but I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing it with you, to be honest. He wouldn't want that.
¿Y cómo separasteis?
So, how did you split up? What happened?
Nothing dramatic. We came by a village and decided to rest there for a while. The roads had become quite dangerous due to the mage wars, and we didn't want to go out unprepared. I did some healing for the villagers, and he helped out the local smith. He liked it, and the smith wanted him as an apprentice, so he stayed. I was surprised and a bit hurt at first, but then I realized it was probably for the better. I still think of him sometimes, though.
¿Cómo te ganabas la vida?
Huh. And how did you make a living?
That was the easiest part. I healed people.
With light magic?
Yes and no. It was my magic that mended the wounds, but since mages are often met with suspicion, how shall I say, got a little creative. Frankly put, whenever I treated someone, I gave them a magical potion to drink, which was just water mixed with some harmless herb to give it color. The rest was laying on hands to help the potion's effect, which was pure light magic and how I did the actual healing.
And that worked?
Better than you'd think. People were fighting over my panacea as if I was Ellen incarnate, while cursing the evil defilers who had caused this war. Ironic, isn't it?
Sí, es bastante irónico. ¿Alguna vez echas de menos esa vida o esa gente?
Do you miss it sometimes? The vagabond life?
Well, we're still vagabonds somehow, aren't we? But I know what you mean. And yeah, I sometimes do. The wind on my skin, the vastness of the wildlands, and the fact that all you have to think about is the mile ahead of you. It's another world. There was this one night I'll never forget. I had made a camp at a clearing, set up campfire, and I was leaning against a tree, slowly drifting toward sleep. Then, all of a sudden, it started to rain. Not just the usual drizzle, it was bucketing down, drowning everything, the earth, the noise, the plants around me. My first impulse was to jump up, to find shelter, get my things into the dry. But I didn't. Instead, I saw. I don't know how else to put it. All of a sudden, there was this deep sense of peace. As if all my life I had been chasing something without knowing it myself. And in that moment had found it. So I just watched. I sat there and I watched. That feeling lasted until the sun came up. And then I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was gone.
Suena hermoso.
That sounds beautiful.
And a bit dramatic. But yeah, it was beautiful. I've never felt something like that again.
And what do you make of it now?
Truth be told, I don't know. But it changed something. Even though I cannot say what it is.
Me preguntaba cómo estás.
How are you holding up?
I think I'm good. And you? You're the pariah carrying out Aeonir's will, not me.
Me las arreglo.
I'm getting by.
Aren't we all? So, can I help you with something?
¿Podrías hablarme sobre tu patria?
Could you tell me a bit more about your homeland? Finn and Mir?
Well, it's not my homeland anymore, but yeah, shoot.
¿Qué se diferencia la cultura humana y la élfica?
How is human culture different from elven culture?
I assume you mean Nortander from Finn and Mir? There isn't one elven culture, as little as there's just the humans. Generally spoken, though, I wouldn't say they're too different. Especially not compared to the orcs. Life is a lot slower, mainly due to our lifespan, and elves are even more defined by tradition than humans. They revere nature and value tradition and rules above all else, and they are extremely aware of what they say, how they say it, and to whom. Which also makes it very easy to offend an elf. I'm an exception in that regard, but that was something my vagrant years taught me. But then again, not all elves are like that. There are some who care as little about Ellen the White Tree and the traditions as a troll cares about his morning toilet.
¿Qué papel juega la magia en Fine and Mir?
What role does magic play among elves?
It's everywhere. Magic is considered a gift of Ellen, and it defines your standing in every possible way. We may have talked about that already, but the whole council who runs the country is made up of mages. Which is why the Purity will have a hard time finding followers in Finn and Mir, should they ever be naive enough to try.
I doubt that will ever happen.
¿Y qué se siente al vivir tanto tiempo?
Elves have a very long lifespan. What's it like to live for so long?
Hard to say, since I don't know what a human body feels like. As an elf, you simply take it for granted. When I first realized how short a human life is during my travels, I was baffled. I've been on this world for 39 years now, and in the elven world, I'm hardly considered an adult. Here, I'd have delivered my 7th child by now. It's strange. That's the best way to describe it. But you know what I eventually came to realize?
Tell me.
That age doesn't necessarily make you wiser. I've talked to 30-year-old humans who understood more of the world than the ancient seers of Finn and Mir. It's all about experiences.
Interesante.
Interesting. There was something else I wanted to ask.
Sure. What?
¿Por qué te fuiste de Fine and Mir?
You never told me why you fled Finn and Mir.
Oh, well, that's a long story. One I'd rather not discuss now, if you don't mind.
All right. Then maybe another time.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe.
Now would
Corporal? Need anything?
¿Por qué te uniste a mí?
This might sound odd, but why did you join me? It was me the Harbinger wanted.
Why are you asking? If you want me to leave, you can just say it. No hard feelings.
No, I just want to understand. You've been putting yourself in a lot of danger for our cause.
I guess so. Well, I hate to disappoint, but I don't think there's a particular reason. As you pointed out in the prison, I'm a fugitive as much as you are, and my best chance of survival was sticking with you.
Pues muy bien.
Goodbye.
Vamos a hablar con esta. Falta hablar con Gore y bueno, y continuar con la campaña. Aquí está el amigo Gore. Cambia formas. Me gusta mucho este personaje.
Zal Raka.
Gore, how are you and the Fire Wielders settling in?
All right, I guess. Though there've been some quarrels between my warriors and these Mohir elves. But don't worry, I took care of it. And that elven scryer promised to do the same. Nonetheless, Tahar, I have to say it. I don't like this place. not at all.
Why not?
I guess it's the people who once lived here, the Shapers. They were corrupted, and I can feel that corruption even now.
Corrupted?
Yeah. Their customs, their culture. They were completely detached from the order of nature.
¿Y eso por qué?
How so?
Do you even need to ask? Just look around. Ghost warriors, strange machines, strange buildings. Especially this place, this Nexus. They thought they were above everything, even the gods. And they meddled with things they didn't understand. It's disgusting.
Well, they're dead now.
Maybe. But I can still feel their presence. Anyway, nothing we can do about it. If the Shapers caused the blood burn, I understand why we need this place. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Pues no sé, tío.
Yes.
Huh?
¿De qué quieres hablar? ¿Qué es intercambiar de forma?
What's it like to change form? I've been wondering about that since I met you.
I can imagine. It's exhilarating and strange at the same time. If it taught me one thing, then it's how foolish it is to put the mind above every other aspect of the body. Many people do that, especially scholars or mages.
What do you mean?
Because the shape of our flesh is so much more than just a shell. It defines us. When I take on the form of a wolf, for example, this wolf isn't just me with fangs and paws. It's a different version of myself.
A different version.
Yes. You can't understand if you haven't been there. But I guess you could say that when I'm taking on a creature's form, a part of my mind gets infused with that creature's essence. The thirst for the hunt. Thinking as part of a pack, just to name the most obvious aspects. They meld with my mind. When I was young and first started shifting, the creature always dominated. It was like a feverish dream, and I had almost no control over my actions. With time, it got better.
¿Y has perdido el control alguna vez?
Did you ever completely lose control when you were in another form?
In the beginning, yes. But the Elder always made sure I was in a controlled environment when I did my first transformations.
¿Qué se siente ser una araña?
How does it feel to shift into a spider?
Strange. Being a mammal, a wolf or bear, it feels different, but still somehow familiar. A spider is something else entirely. The way you see, the way you perceive, the way you feel. The first time I shifted, I couldn't bear it for more than a minute, and it haunted me for weeks after that.
Yeah, I imagine.
¿Cómo aprendes una forma nueva?
How do you learn a new form?
That's complicated. First you have to understand that creature, observe it, live with it if possible. That can take months, years, sometimes decades. Then there's what we shamans call the first joining. You have to visualize your shift.
How does that work?
I can't explain it. It's like your first bloodshed. It can't be explained, only experienced.
En teoría podías transformarte en cualquier cosa, ¿no?
So in theory, could you transform into anything? Even, say, a wyvern? A dragon?
In theory, yes. In practice, there's no known shapeshifter who has ever done that. Save for old orcish legends, maybe.
Why not?
First off, there aren't many dragons around to study. And even if there were, you aren't likely to survive it. Secondly, transforming into something that enormous, it can be lethal. Our minds, our essence just isn't fit to govern such a massive body. Only some years ago there was talk of an Ash Reaver shifter who had attempted to morph into a troll. He succeeded, but his heart, the troll's heart, stopped before he could take a single step. So you see why most shifters aren't that eager to experiment.
Huh, wow. That's definitely interesting. Thanks for taking the time to explain.
Sure.
Sobre la cultura de los orcos.
Back in Bargagor, you told me that you think the orcs should strive to be more. What do you mean by that? Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder, and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized. But in the end, you look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. But of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that. And the result are lies, intrigue, wars, and assassinations. Your culture is so bizarre that it's almost amusing.
Creo que estás generalizando, ¿no?
That might go for some, but not all of us.
Maybe, maybe not. So no, I don't consider our culture to be inferior. But we've gone astray. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every battle, every war has to have a purpose. It isn't something done for pleasure. Yes, it can be enjoyed. But at its core, it is ritual. The most basic one of nature.
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So what you want is to lead your people to a better future?
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Bueno, pues ya está. ¿No creo que es posible vivir sin violencia?
Don't you think a world without violence is possible?
No.
Why? Isn't that what we should all aspire to?
We should aspire to a lot of things. But tell me, Tahar, this world has existed for millennia. And has there ever been peace? Lasting peace?
No.
No.
Exactly. And you don't think there's a reason for this? As I said, our very existence is based on conflict. Finding food, not freezing to death. Living means to struggle. Your people, with your warm clothes and banquets, try all in your power to forget that fact. But you can't, because ultimately, there's as much thirst for struggle in you as in an orc. What we orcs believe is that we should embrace it. That we should just face the truth, even if it's ugly. That the ways of nature can't be changed by its creation. It's like fighting the tides.
So what? Do we just kill each other whenever we feel like it?
No. What we need is a way to channel our urges. Ceremonial battles, arenas. A society that is centered around survival and strength, and gains, rather than loses stability from it. Because if we simply suppress these urges, such as humans, the elves, and the dwarves do, they will at one point only erupt even more violently.
Discrepo totalmente, puede que tengas razón.
I never looked at it that way. But I think you might be right.
You never fail to surprise, Tahar. Anyway, where were we?
¿Siempre has tenido esas ambiciones?
Did you always have these ambitions?
No.
Then where did they come from?
None of your business, Tahar. Sorry.
All right.
Interesante.
Well, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
I'll be off.
Pues me voy. Vamos a continuar con la misión principal. Finalmente.
All
Estamos
right,
aquí
let's get
todos.
to the chase. We need to discuss where and how we start our search. You're all familiar with the objective?
Find the Forge Stones, reignite the Nexus, decipher the song with it, and put an end to the blood burn.
That's about it. Area thinks that someone removed the Nexus stones shortly before the city was abandoned, but they left markers on the stone map. And now that we have a small army backing us up, we can start searching. Iskrim?
Yeah, we suspect one of the stones to be in the desert of Aenir's Blade, probably in the possession of the Iron Falcons, whereas the other one is on an unknown island.
An unknown island?
Correct. And yes, the oceans might have long taken it, which is why the only way to find out is to build a ship. And to...
Wait, I think I might know what that island is. Does it happen to be in the northwest, in the Black Sea?
I think so.
Sun and stars, that's fascinating. 2 years ago, there was an archaeologist in Everlight who claimed the same. That there was an island in the Black Sea, unknown to our cartographers.
Did he find it?
That's a complicated story, but it's a trail we could follow. If we go to Everlight, I can tell you more.
Well, it does sound promising.
And intriguing. So, where do we go first, Tahar? Everlight or Aenir's Blade?
Al
I'll
desierto.
think about it and let you know when we head out. For now, just get prepared.
Will do, Corporal.
Al desierto. ¿Este qué hace aquí? Vamos, este es el orco.
I'll be off.
Al desierto de cabeza, chavales.
Will do.
Porque ir al sitio de la luz, vas a seguir hablando y yo paso de seguir hablando. Quiero un poquito de jaleo, un poquito de espada y escudo. Que hablando de escudo, me gustaría poder equiparme este. Pero para eso tengo que ser especialista en armas a una mano, cosa que aún no puedo. Bueno, no puedo, no quiero. Es un poco de todo, no puedo y no quiero, porque más que nada porque me haría falta mejorar las habilidades de una mano. Los Tooms. Lo que no he visto es las habilidades de la derecha del todo. ¿Qué es lo que hace falta para desbloquearlas? Estas, no, bueno, en este caso ya tengo desbloqueada. Restaura la madera. Hostia. Esto me interesa, ¿eh? No me da la zona asignada. Reparación de edificio. Esto me interesa. Vámonos de Mulandir. Que ves lo que tarda en cargar un simple mapa de mundo, ¿eh? Bueno, venga. A ver, espacio para continuar. Me dice que me queda. Mira aquí esta hoja de unir. Vamos para allá. Tengo que seleccionar el grupo. Voy a quitar a Gor. De hecho, me voy a quitar el enano. Y voy a meter a Gor en su lugar. Y meteré también a la daguera. Que quería probar que es esta.
Prepare yourselves.
Y me quedan proponer a este también. No, este.
The Field Dog. What may sound like a myth or horror story to many is harsh reality for the 200 Iron Falcons of the canyon named Aeonir's Blade. According to legend, the guardian gods fought back the Field Dog, ancient mythical demons, and sealed them in a tomb. Ever since that day, the Field Dog have tried to break free, raising hordes of the undead from the sand to do their bidding. And it is only the Iron Falcons who stand between them and their return to the world.
Y bueno, chavales, os voy a dejar por aquí para que no se extienda más el capítulo de hoy. Vamos a ir a Hoja de Agonir, a buscar la primera esfera u orbe. Y a ver qué nos depara el próximo episodio. Si os está gustando, like, comentáis, suscribíos. Y nada, hasta la próxima. Chao.